This VMware View Business Process Desktop Bootcamp segment will detail including EMC Avamar for efficient next-generation backup and recovery in your solution. In this Bootcamp video, I will first explain the details surrounding the foundation and architecture of the EMC Avamar solution. Then we'll look at providing insight into how this next-generation backup and recovery solution is best suited for and implemented in a business process desktop environment. And finally, I will walk you through a product demo highlighting the simplicity and security Avamar brings in providing end-user driven backup and restores. EMC's Avamar is a complete backup and recovery software and hardware solution, an integrated system for faster backups, reduced network traffic, and simple single-step restores. Avamar's unique client-side global deduplication technology eliminates redundant backup data before it is sent over the network and stored. As an enterprise-class backup and recovery solution, Avamar is optimized for both physical and virtual environments, which will enable you to make a smooth transition from protecting your current physical desktop infrastructure over to your business process desktop virtual infrastructure. Avamar is tightly integrated with our EMC data domain systems for increased scalability, and through its management console manages all scheduling, policies, retention, and recoveries for both backups and restores on the Avamar data store as well as the EMC data domain systems. The Avamar data store offers high availability and reliability with its RAIN architecture, or redundant array of independent nodes, enabling daily recoverability verification and DR via replication. So let's take a look at a high level at how Avamar's client-side deduplication works. Avamar starts by dividing data into subfile segments. It compresses them and applies a unique hash identifier to each one. Then it can determine if that segment has been previously backed up or whether it's unique and should now be backed up. If the data has been backed up previously, either from this particular virtual desktop or any other physical or virtual desktop, then Avamar will not back it up again. This is why EMC says never back up the same data twice. Using this process, Avamar routinely reduces data by up to 99% before backing it up. This can have a huge impact. The data that is truly new and unique is sent across the network compressed, which again helps with bandwidth management on both backups and recoveries. It is also encrypted, which ensures the security of the data while it's in transit as well as when it's at rest. So let's talk about some real-world results which we have simulated inside of our labs. What we're looking at is a full backup. So these numbers are in comparison to doing a daily full backup in your environment with traditional backup. Avamar savings are dramatic here. Compared to a traditional backup agent, Avamar provides significantly less CPU impact, which gives those CPU cycles back to your applications, significantly less network utilization, so you don't have to become a backup scheduling Zen master, and significantly less disk I/O, which will give those disk I/Os back to the application that you're running in your production environment. At the end of the day, your production applications should control the size of your virtual infrastructure. Backup is not strategic, it's a necessity. Don't let it control your virtual infrastructure. Finally, the ability to control the amount of resources available to the Avamar agent via a throttle mechanism ensures consistent performance for applications during backup, and as you can see here, still saves us a significant amount of time over traditional backup methods. Many companies today continue to choose to back up VMware at the guest level. The main advantages of this approach, as we've said, is its simplicity and particularly familiarity that it brings. This approach is great for file-level backup and recovery. In this scenario, the Avamar agent is installed inside of the virtual machine guest or inside of the virtual desktop. When the backup runs, data is reduced within the virtual machine and only new unique segments are moved and stored. The key benefit is that because it eliminates the backup bottleneck caused by contention for shared resources, Avamar really helps companies optimize consolidation ratios and get the most out of their VMware investment. Another benefit is that because operating system or application-specific agents run in the virtual machine, application consistency can be guaranteed. And Avamar agents are free. You're only charged for the deduplicated capacity that you consume, so you can deploy agents as you like, which is great for virtual environments, specifically virtual desktop environments, where virtual machines tend to come and go very quickly as your employee base churns. This is particularly useful, as you'll see later on in this bootcamp, where we'll show you how to implement this business critical application backup for protecting the databases and infrastructure of the VMware View business process desktop. One of the great values that server virtualization brings is how much faster and easier it is to stand up a new server implementation. And in this case, and what we're talking about today, new desktops, and implementing them faster than it would take to implement their physical counterparts. Virtual machines are easy to create, portable, and can move from ESX host to ESX host automatically. When new virtual servers or desktops can be created in an instant with a point and click, how can you assure that they're really being associated with the right backup policy? Avamar has taken the steps to integrate with VMware's management tools, particularly, as you see here on the slide, vCenter Server, in order to make management of backup and recovery more effective. With Avamar, you can access vCenter Server directly from within the Avamar user interface to get a view of the new virtual machines that are automatically discovered and displayed. In this way, the administrators can apply an appropriate backup policy. Then, virtual machines and virtual desktops can be sorted so that their current backup status can be assessed. Administrators can see which virtual machines are backed up, either via guest or image level, and which ones are not well protected. Then they can make adjustments to correct and make sure that the entire environment is properly protected. So given all the aspects of Avamar that I've discussed so far, it is clear to see that Avamar is optimized for VMware backup and recovery and is the industry's leading choice. It provides a variety of options and flexibility for its users, including guest-level backup as well as image-level backup, which I'll cover in more detail in the following slides. A simple one-step recovery is as easy as point and click to retrieve your file, folder, or database. And for your end users in the View Business Process desktop, I'll show you in a demo at the end of this presentation on how easy it is for your end users to do their own backups and restores without having to call a help desk. Tight integration with VMware vCenter Server provides administrators ease of use for managing the environment. And one key benefit of this is the ability to quickly see which VMs are protected and, more importantly, which ones are not. Avamar can optionally be deployed as a virtual appliance, and with Avamar's variable length global deduplication can reduce backup storage required for virtual environments and virtual desktops by 40 to 60 times. Now let's look at using Avamar to provide image-level backups, taking advantage of VMware's vStorage API for data protection. The vStorage API approach involves creating VMware snapshots of a virtual machine, presenting it to a virtual proxy host, and then backing up the VMDK file from within that proxy. Companies like this approach because it moves the backup process away from the virtual machines that are hosting their View desktop environments where their particular infrastructure applications and databases are running. This avoids any performance impact to that infrastructure. In this case, the Avamar agent is automatically installed on the proxy host where it runs your backups from there to an Avamar data store or a data domain appliance. Because of VMware enhancements, including the ability to run the proxy server in a virtual machine, as well as dynamically hot adding volumes to that proxy without physically moving data across the network, Avamar is able to back up large virtual machines in just minutes. Something really to think about when considering backup for a business process desktop infrastructure or other large virtual computing environment with hundreds, if not thousands, of virtual machines to protect. Avamar can load balance jobs across virtual proxy servers to assure that individual proxies are not overtaxed. Jobs can also be directed to available proxies to handle high priority workloads. This approach helps drive down costs by having fewer proxies to manage. Avamar can also leverage some new capabilities provided by VMware to only back up the changed blocks of that virtual machine since the last backup. This lessens the backup processing that Avamar has to do and speeds up the backups even further. Avamar's architecture was designed to reconcile daily change block backups into full instances for recovery. This is different from most backup applications that require at least a periodic full backup amongst many incrementals. This means that Avamar can process the change blocks identified by VMware into a full recoverable image on an ongoing basis. As a result, recovery is much faster and much more reliable. One feature that companies really would like is the ability to do one backup and have the option of a bare metal restore or more granular file level recovery. Taking advantage of its integrated file system, Avamar can provide this capability, and you don't have to mount the VMDK in order to do this. With the latest release of Avamar, an even faster restore process has been developed, leveraging the change block tracking technology that we've discussed on the previous slide for backup. Avamar will restore VMware disk format VMDK files even faster. Let's see how this works. First, a snapshot of the VMDK is presented to the virtual proxy server, and VMware presents Avamar with a list of change blocks. Next, Avamar will break these change blocks into variable length segments to determine which specific segments are unique and send only those segments to the Avamar data store. Now let's take a look at the standard restore process. Prior to Avamar 6.0 release, the recovery process simply restored either the full file, if it's in a Windows operating system, or the full VMDK image. Now, in our latest release, Avamar tracks the delta of changed blocks to speed the recovery process by restoring only the unique elements required to rebuild the file, folder, or VMDK requested, resulting in lightning fast restores. So now let's talk specifically about how Avamar can be implemented for your VMware View infrastructure, particularly for Business Process Desktop. As you know, in VMware View, there are several infrastructure components, particularly the View Composer server, View Connection server, and other infrastructure components within the solution that require to be backed up. Specifically, Avamar, you can leverage the Avamar guest-level agents to install inside of those infrastructure servers and provide consistent hot backup of all the databases within the infrastructure. Not only this, but Avamar's guest level backup will deduplicate within and across virtual machines and those databases, and has been fully tested for a wide variety of environments, including View desktop environments. This particular mechanism reduces resource contention and speeds backups, again by providing an in-guest agent and only backing up the changes across the network, and provides a file level restore for both Windows, Linux, and Solaris, so you can be assured that there's a wide gamut of flexibility in how you restore particular components or files within the infrastructure servers that we're discussing. And again, we can control costs within Avamar because these agents can be deployed at a $0 cost. Again, only capacity is being licensed in this solution. A virtual desktop environment takes your physical distributed environment and brings control to you in your data center. With a centralized environment, you're better able to manage and support your end users, ensuring the productivity of your environment. Additionally, with the desktop environment behind the firewall, you are able to increase the security of the environment. So now we'll look at some of the specific features of EMC Avamar that will also complement these particular aspects of implementing a virtualized desktop environment. With VMware View desktop client support, you now have the ability to protect employee data back in the data center using the same deduplication backup software solution you use to protect your View infrastructure and other mission-critical application servers that are also in the data center. This also includes remote offices and any backups associated with those remote sites. All of this, data deduplication, open file backup, and CPU throttling, is available in a small client footprint, taking up only about 5 megabytes on the client system. And since it's Avamar technology, it requires little bandwidth because the same data is never backed up twice, providing up to 10 times faster daily backup. Avamar, deployed in Microsoft Windows platforms, is easy to install and use, and it operates in the background, non-disruptively to the end user. An end user interface eliminates the intervention of the help desk to restore data to and from the user's view desktop. End users are automatically backed up when logged in during normal backup windows. Alternatively, users can initiate their own backups. Similarly, with the help of a powerful search engine, they can restore their own files at any time and from anywhere without contacting their IT help desk. For the IT department and the administrators, we expect the majority of the customers implementing this solution to use their standard View template deployment tools to install the Avamar client on end user systems. The Avamar client would be included as part of the golden image in those templates so that all new View desktops come with Avamar already pre-installed. Policies, including what to back up, when running the backups, and how long to retain them, are managed at the Avamar domain or group level in the Avamar server. So administrators can implement and enforce policies globally or by well-defined organizational entities. For instance, while you may consider all Word and Excel files to be corporate assets, you may only allow JPEGs or MP3s to be backed up on behalf of the marketing group. Finally, Avamar's traditional capacity licensing model, which we've discussed before, is really simple and means that you don't have to generate certificates or move licenses when you add users or your existing users upgrade to a new View desktop platform. So you may recognize this diagram from our how-to document that is associated with the EMC Avamar collateral for business process desktop implementation. What I wanted to do here is walk you through this entire solution and show you specifically what we've already discussed and where Avamar will provide protection across the environment. First off, as I've talked about our guest level agents, specifically for the VMware View Manager and all the infrastructure components and platforms that run it, Avamar can be deployed via guest agents to protect all the variant databases and infrastructure components that make up the VMware View Manager suite. Also, through the use of Avamar NDMP backup, you can also back up the persona management infrastructure as well as VMware ThinApp infrastructure, including the persona management data itself directly off of the NAS file shares. This can be done either via a VNX or a NetApp filer, depending on which one particular your View desktop is deployed on. And finally, providing end-user level recovery, which I will show in a demo. You can protect users' files and View desktops specifically by implementing a guest agent inside of the template for the View desktops. This way, you provide all of your View desktop users with the ability to run self-service restores without the need of calling the help desk. And all of this is channeled directly to an Avamar data store, again, backing up only the unique data to the data store or a data domain system for scalability and flexibility. And just for completeness here, the business process desktop can also be implemented via a reference architecture of converged infrastructure in EMC's offering of the vSpEX platform. The vSpEX platform is a collection of white papers and, as I mentioned, a reference architecture for deploying virtualized infrastructure. In particular, there are white papers and collateral that deal specifically with building an infrastructure for VMware View 5.1. EMC Avamar is certainly a portion of this particular reference architecture, and you can see here on this slide the guidelines on which type of Avamar implementation is used depending on the number of virtual desktops you have in your environment. You can see here Avamar can be implemented as easily with an AVE for up to 250 virtual desktops, or go even higher depending on the size of the storage and the virtual desktop client environment that you want to protect. Again, Avamar is included within these reference architectures and white papers, so visit the EMC.com and VMware.com websites for more information on the vSpEX reference architecture. So now what I'd like to do is walk you through an EMC Avamar demo showing you EMC Avamar end user self-restore within a business process desktop environment. So I'm logged in here to my View desktop, which is just a typical Windows 7 end user environment. And I have here a WordPad document that I'm working on here, simply just a quick example of a WordPad document that a user or an end user would be editing and working on from a productivity perspective. What I'm going to go ahead and do is show you how easy it is for the user to do on-demand backups of particular data on their end user View desktop, and then go through a scenario where that user would have to restore the file directly from the backups itself without having to call the help desk. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just close this file for now. And at the bottom here you can see EMC Avamar is installed. This is the client software we have discussed before in the presentation. Just a lightweight 5 megabyte installation inside of the guest template OS. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is right click on this Avamar icon and just go into the backup option. And now that it's asking us for the login, we'll just go ahead and log in with the local user account that we are logged into this Windows PC with. And here is the main interface and menu that the user is brought up to do backups of their end user files. What we'll go ahead and do is perform an on-demand backup. So you'll go up here where it says select folders and files to backup. The user will simply click here and select now. And what will happen is an easy to use Explorer interface will come up. So we'll just go ahead and go, the file is on the desktop, so we'll go ahead and go in here to the users, that particular user's directory, and simply just go in here to the desktop, and specifically here is the WordPad document that we were working on. So I want to go ahead and back that up. So I'm just going to select that file and then say OK. And what that's going to do is create a backup save set with that particular file in it, and I just want to go ahead and start the backup. So this is now executing a command to the Avamar server from the client to go ahead and execute a backup of that single file. Momentarily, you see here we get a backup progress window along with an indication here saying that the backup has started. And the backup is now finished quickly and easily. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, now that I've completed my backup, I'm just going to close the Avamar client interface. So what I'm going to do now is go into the document and make some changes to the document. I'm hearing that this particular graphic, somebody may not particularly like the graphic. So just to create a change to the document, I'm going to go ahead and change out that picture. So we're going to go in here to the sample pictures here. And I'm going to change it over to this picture of the Grand Canyon here. So now I've made the desired changes to my document. And this is pretty much in a final state. So I'm going to go ahead and close this document, save it, and send it off to the group for review. So I've just come back from review, and turns out I need to make some changes to the document back to revert the picture because, again, some of the users still, my peers weren't necessarily happy with the picture that I had chosen. But I've gone to my desktop and I found that the file's actually gone. I may have done some cleanup on the desktop and actually inadvertently deleted it. But what we'll go ahead and do is go into Avamar and actually do a restore of the file. And this way, I can recover that file from my backup. So what we'll do is we'll launch the Restore UI from the Avamar icon on the taskbar. And once the UI loads, we'll go ahead and log in. Okay, now that the interface is up, we can just do a quick search or browse the files that we've backed up. What I'm going to go ahead and do is just do a quick search. I know it was a real text format file, so we'll do a search for star.rtf. And then the quick search results queries will come back from the backup. This is typical from all of the backups on the Avamar server from this particular workstation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is see here, this is the file that I want to recover. Now, there may be more than one version of this file. If so, you can just quickly click on this icon and select the actual version that you want to recover. But we only have one version of this file here, so I'm just going to go ahead and select it. We want to overwrite any existing files, not necessarily give it a new name, and restore it to the original location. So from here, I'm just going to quickly hit restore. And now it'll kick off a restore from the Avamar server back to this client system. There we go. And the restore is actually started here. So we'll just let that complete. And the restore is now quickly finished. So what I'll go ahead and do is close this interface here now that I've got my file back. And you can see here the file is now restored back to my view desktop. So if I double click on this Word document, I can resume back to work. Here's the original content. It actually is even the picture that my peers wanted me to use in the end anyway. So now I'm back to a good state and I can go ahead and send this document out for final review. So this is just quickly and easily how end users can take control of their backup and recovery without involving the IT help desk within a view desktop environment. This is only a flavor of, or a little portion of the Avamar feature set for VMware View. I definitely encourage you to continue looking on EMC.com as well as VMware.com in the Business Process Desktop section for more collateral on this solution. Thanks for joining this bootcamp session and have a great day.